Svetasvatara Upanishad, Part 1. The lovers of Brahman ask, what is the source of this universe? What is Brahman? From where do we come? By what power do we live? Where do we find rest? Who rules over our joys and sorrows, O seers of Brahman? Shall we think of time, of the own nature of things, or of a law of necessity, or of chance, or of the elements, or of the power of creation of woman or man? Not a union of these, for above them is a soul who thinks. But our soul is under the power of pleasure and pain. By the yoga of meditation and contemplation, the wise saw the power of God hidden in his own creation. It is he who rules over all the sources of this universe, from time to the soul of man. And they saw the wheel of his power made of one circle, 3 layers, 16 parts, 50 spokes, 20 counterspokes, 6 groups of 8, 3 paths, 1 rope of innumerable strands, and the great illusion. 3 layers, the 3 constituents of nature, light, fire, and darkness. 16 parts, or segments of the rim of the wheel, the 5 elements, 5 means to know, 5 means to do, and the mind, 50 spokes, 50 states of consciousness, as taught in the Sankhya wisdom, 5 kinds of error, 28 of weakness, 9 of joy, and 8 of achievement. 20 counterspokes, 10 senses and their 10 objects. 6 groups of 8, forms of nature, constituents of the body, powers of yoga, modes of feeling, gods and virtues. 3 paths, the yoga of light, of love, and of life. 1 rope of innumerable strands, desire of innumerable forms. The great illusion, the illusion which sees the one as 2. They also saw the river of life impetuously rushing with the 5 streams of sense feelings, which come from 5 sources, the 5 elements. Its waves are moved by 5 breathing winds, and its origin is a 5-fold fountain of consciousness. This river has 5 whirlpools, and the violent waves of 5 sorrows. It has 5 stages of pain, and 5 dangerous windings and turnings. In this vast wheel of creation, wherein all things live and die, wanders round the human soul like a swan in restless flying, and she thinks that God is afar. But when the love of God comes down upon her, then she finds her own immortal life. Exalted in songs has been Brahman. In him are God, and the world, and the soul, and he is the imperishable supporter of all. When the seers of Brahman see him in all creation, they find peace in Brahman, and are free from all sorrows. God upholds the oneness of this universe, the seen and the unseen, the transient and the eternal. The soul of man is bound by pleasure and pain, but when she sees God, she is free from all fetters. There is the soul of man with wisdom and unwisdom, power and powerlessness. There is nature, prakriti, which is creation for the sake of the soul. And there is God, infinite, omnipresent, who watches the work of creation. When a man knows the 3, he knows Brahman. Matter in time passes away, but God is forever in eternity, and he rules both matter and soul. By meditation on him, by contemplation of him, and by communion with him, there comes in the end the destruction of earthly delusion. When a man knows God, he is free. His sorrows have an end, and birth and death are no more. When in inner union he is beyond the world of the body, then the third world, the world of the spirit, is found, where the power of the All is, and man has all, for he is one with the One. Know that Brahman is forever in thee, and nothing higher is there to be known. When one sees God and the world and the soul, one sees the three, one sees Brahman. Even as fire is not seen in wood, and yet by power it comes to light as fire, so Brahman in the universe and in the soul is revealed by the power of Om. The soul is the wood below that can burn and be fire, and Om is the whirling friction rod above. Prayer is the power that makes Om turn round, and then the mystery of God comes to light. God is found in the soul, when sought with truth and self-sacrifice. As fire is found in wood, water in hidden springs, cream in milk, and oil in the oil fruit. There is a spirit who is hidden in all things, as cream is hidden in milk, and who is the source of self-knowledge and self-sacrifice. This is Brahman, the Spirit Supreme. This is Brahman, the Spirit Supreme. Part 2. Savitri, the god of inspiration, sent the mind and its powers to find truth. He saw the light of the god of fire and spread it over the earth. By the grace of God Savitri, our mind is one with him, and we strive with all our power for light. Savitri gives life to our souls, and then they shine in great light. He makes our mind and its powers one, and leads our thoughts to heaven. The seers of the God who sees all keep their mind and their thoughts in oneness. They sing the glory of God Savitri, who has given every man his work. I sing the songs of olden times with adoration. May my own songs follow the path of the sun. Let all the children of immortality hear me, even those who are in the highest heaven. Where the fire of the Spirit burns, where the wind of the Spirit blows, where the soma wine of the Spirit overflows, there a new soul is born. Inspired then by Savitri, let us find joy in the prayers of olden times, for if we make them our rock, we shall be made pure of past sins. With upright body, head and neck, lead the mind and its powers into thy heart, and the Om of Brahman will then be thy boat with which to cross the rivers of fear. And when the body is in silent steadiness, breathe rhythmically through the nostrils with a peaceful ebbing and flowing of breath. The chariot of the mind is drawn by wild horses, and those wild horses have to be tamed. Find a quiet retreat for the practice of yoga, sheltered from the wind, level and clean, free from rubbish, smouldering fires and ugliness, and where the sound of waters and the beauty of the place help thought and contemplation. These are the imaginary forms that appear before the final vision of Brahman: a mist, a smoke, and a sun, a wind, fireflies, and a fire, lightnings, a clear crystal, and a moon. When the yogi has full power over his body, composed of the elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, then he obtains a new body of spiritual fire, which is beyond illness, old age, and death. The first fruits of the practice of yoga are health, waste matter, and a clear complexion, lightness of the body, a pleasant scent, and a sweet voice, and an absence of greedy desires. Even as a mirror of gold covered by dust, when cleaned well, shines again in full splendour. When a man has seen the truth of the Spirit, he is one with him. The aim of his life is fulfilled, and he is ever beyond sorrow. Then the soul of man becomes a lamp by which he finds the truth of Brahman. Then he sees God, pure, never born, everlasting. And when he sees God, he is free from all bondage. This is the God whose light illumines all creation, the creator of all from the beginning. He was, he is, and forever he shall be. He is in all, and he sees all. Glory be to that God who is in the fire, who is in the waters, who is in plants and in trees, who is in all things in this vast creation. Unto that Spirit be glory and glory. Part 3. There is one in whose hands is the net of Maya, who rules with his power, who rules all the worlds with his power. He is the same at the time of creation and at the time of dissolution. Those who know him attain immortality. He is Rudra. He alone is the one who governs the worlds with his power. He watches over all beings and rules their creations and their destruction. His eyes and mouths are everywhere. His arms and feet are everywhere. He is God who made heaven and earth, who gave man his arms, and who gave to the birds their wings. May Rudra, the seer of eternity, who gave to the gods their birth and their glory, who keeps all things under his protection, and who in the beginning created the golden seed, grant us the grace of pure vision. Come down to us, Rudra, who art in the high mountains. Come and let thy light of thy face, free from fear and evil, shine upon us. Come to us with thy love. Let not the arrow in thy hand hurt man or any living being. Let it be an arrow of love. Greater than all is Brahman, the Supreme, the Infinite. He dwells in the mystery of all beings according to their forms in nature. Those who know him, who knows all, and in whose glory all things are, attain immortality. I know the Spirit Supreme, radiant like the sun beyond darkness. He who knows him goes beyond death, for he is the only path to life immortal. His infinity is beyond what is great or small, and greater than him there is nothing. Like a tree everlasting, he stands in the centre of heaven, and his radiance illumines all creation. Those who know him who is greater than all, beyond form and beyond pain, attain immortality. Those who know not go to the worlds of sorrow. All this universe is in the glory of God, of Shiva, the god of love. The heads and faces of men are his own, and he is in the hearts of all. He is indeed the Lord Supreme, whose grace moves the hearts of men. He leads us unto his own joy, and to the glory of his light. He is the inmost soul of all, which, like a little flame, the size of a thumb, is hidden in the hearts of men. He is the master of wisdom, ever reached by thought and love. He is the immortality of those who know him. He has innumerable heads and eyes and feet, and his vastness enfolds the universe, and even a measure of 10 beyond. God is in truth the whole universe, what was, what is, and what beyond shall ever be. He is the God of life immortal, and of all life that lives by food. His hands and feet are everywhere. He has heads and mouths everywhere. He sees all, he hears all. He is in all, and he is. The light of consciousness comes to him through infinite powers of perception, and yet he is above these powers. He is God, the ruler of all, the infinite refuge of all. The wandering swan of the soul dwells in the castle of 9 gates of the body, and flies away to enjoy the outer world. He is the master of the universe, of all that moves, and of all that moves not. Without hands he holds all things, without feet he runs everywhere. Without eyes he sees all things. Without ears all things he hears. He knows all, but no one knows him, the Spirit before the beginning, the Spirit supreme, everlasting. Concealed in the heart of all beings lies the Atman, the Spirit, the Self, smaller than the smallest atom, greater than the greatest spaces. When by the grace of God man sees the glory of God, he sees him beyond the world of desire, and then sorrows are left behind. I know that Spirit whose infinity is in all, who is ever one beyond time. I know the Spirit whom the lovers of Brahman call eternal, beyond the birth and rebirth of life. Part 4. May God, who in the mystery of his vision and power transforms his white radiance into his many-coloured creation, from whom all things come and into whom all they return, grant us the grace of pure vision. He is the sun, the moon and the stars. He is the fire, the waters and the wind. He is Brahma, the creator of all, and Prajapati, the Lord of creation. Thou this boy, and thou this maiden, thou this man, and thou this woman. Thou art this old man who supports himself on a staff. Thou the God, whom appears in forms infinite. Thou the blue bird, and thou the green bird. Thou the cloud that conceals the lightning, and thou the seasons and the oceans. Beyond beginning, thou art in thy infinity, and all the worlds had their beginning in thee. There is nature, never born, who with her three elements, light, fire and darkness, creates all things in nature. There is the never-born soul of man bound by the pleasures of nature, and there is the spirit of man never born, who has left pleasures behind in the joy of the beyond. There are two birds, two sweet friends who dwell on the self-same tree. The one eats the fruits thereof, and the other looks on in silence. The first is the human soul, who resting on that tree, though active, feels sad in his unwisdom. But on beholding the power and the glory of the higher spirit, he becomes free from sorrow. Of what use is the Rig Veda to one who does not know the spirit from whom the Rig Veda comes, and in whom all things abide? For only those who have found him have found peace. For all the sacred books, all holy sacrifice and ritual and prayers, all the words of the Vedas, and the whole past and present and future come from the Spirit. With Maya, his power of wonder, he makes all things, and by Maya the human soul is bound. Know therefore that nature is Maya, but that God is the ruler of Maya, and that all beings in our universe are parts of his infinite splendour. He rules over the sources of creation. From him comes the universe, and unto him it returns. He is the Lord, the giver of blessings, the one God of our adoration, in whom there is perfect peace. May Rudra, the seer of eternity, who gave to the gods their birth and their glory, who keeps all things under his protection, and who in the beginning saw the golden seed, grant us the grace of pure vision. Who is the God to whom we shall offer adoration? The God of gods, in whose glory the worlds are, and who rules this world of man and all living beings. He is the God of forms infinite, in whose glory all things are, smaller than the smallest atom, and yet the creator of all, ever living in the mystery of his creation. In the vision of this love there is everlasting peace. He is the Lord of all, who, hidden in the heart of things, watches over the world of time. The gods and the seers of Brahman are one with him. And when a man knows him, he cuts the bonds of death. When one knows God, who is hidden in the heart of all things, even as cream is hidden in milk, and in whose glory all things are, he is free from all bondage. This is the God whose work is all the worlds, the Supreme Soul who dwells forever in the hearts of men. Those who know him through their hearts and their minds become immortal. There is a region beyond darkness where there is neither day nor night, nor what is not. Only Shiva, the god of love, is there. It is the region of the glorious splendour of God, from whom came the light of the sun, and from whom the ancient wisdom came in the beginning. The mind cannot grasp him above or below, or in the space between. With whom shall we compare him whose glory is the whole universe? Far beyond the range of vision he cannot be seen by mortal eyes, but he can be known by the heart and the mind, and those who know him attain immortality. A man comes to thee in fearful wonder and says, "Thou art God, who never was born. Let thy face, Rudra, shine upon me, and let thy love be my eternal protection. Hurt not my child, nor the child of my child. Hurt not my life, my horses, or my cows. Kill not in anger our brave men, for we ever come to thee with adorations." Part 5. Two things are hidden in the mystery of infinity of Brahman: knowledge and ignorance. Ignorance passes away, and knowledge is immortal. But Brahman is in eternity above ignorance and knowledge. He is the one in whose power are the many sources of creation, and the root and the flower of all things. The golden seed, the Creator, was in his mind in the beginning, and he saw him born when time began. He is God who spreads the net of transmigration and then withdraws it in the field of life. He is the Lord who created the lords of creation, the Supreme Soul who rules over all. Even as the radiance of the sun shines everywhere in space, so does the glory of God rule over all his creation. In the unfolding of his own nature, he makes all things blossom into flower and fruit. He gives to them all their fragrance and colour. He, the one, the only God who rules the universe. There is a spirit hidden in the mystery of the Upanishads and the Vedas, and Brahma, the god of creation, owns him as his own creator. It is the spirit of God, seen by gods and seers of olden times, who, when one with him, became immortal. When a man is bound by the three powers of nature, he works for a selfish reward, and in time he has his reward. His soul then becomes the many forms of the three powers, strays along the three paths, and wanders on through life and death. The soul is like the sun in splendour. When it becomes one with the self-conscious "I am" and its desires, it is a flame the size of a thumb. But when one with pure reason and the inner spirit, it becomes in concentration as the point of a needle. The soul can be thought as the part of a point of a hair, which divided by 100 were divided by 100 again. And yet in this living soul there is the seed of infinity. The soul is not a man nor a woman, nor what is neither a woman nor a man. When the soul takes the form of a body, by that same body the soul is bound. The soul is born and unfolds in a body, with dreams and desires and the food of life, and then it is reborn in new bodies, in accordance with its former works. The quality of the soul determines body, earthly or airy, heavy or light. Its thoughts and its actions can lead it to freedom, or lead it to bondage in life after life. But there is the God of forms infinite, and when a man knows God, he is free from all bondage. He is the creator of all, ever living in the mystery of his creation. He is beyond beginning and end, and in his glory all things are. He is an incorporeal spirit, but he can be seen by a heart which is pure. Being and non-being come from him, and he is the creator of all. He is God, the God of love, and when a man knows him, then he leaves behind his bodies of transmigration. Part 6. Some sages speak of the nature of things as the cause of the world, and others in their delusion speak of time, but it is by the glory of God that the wheel of Brahman revolves in the universe. The whole universe is ever in his power. He is pure consciousness, the creator of time, all-powerful, all-knowing. It is under his rule that the work of creation revolves in its evolution, and we have earth and water and ether and fire and air. God ended his work and he rested, and he made a bond of love between his soul and the soul of all things, and the one became one with the one, and the two, and the three, and the eight, and with time, and with the subtle mystery of the human soul. His first works are bound by the three qualities, and he gives to each thing its place in nature. When the three are gone, the work is done, and then a greater work can begin. His being is the source of all being, the seed of all things, that in this life have their life. He is beyond time and space, and yet he is the God of forms infinite, who dwells in our inmost thoughts, and who is seen by those who love him. He is beyond the tree of life and time, and things seen by mortal eyes, but the whole universe comes from him. He gives us truth and takes away evil, for he is the Lord of all good. Know that he is the inmost of thy soul, and that he is the home of thy immortality. May we know the Lord of lords, the King of kings, the God of gods, God, the God of love, the Lord of all. We cannot see how he works, or what are the tools of his work. Nothing can be compared with him, and how can anything be greater than he is? His power is shown in infinite ways, and how great is his work and wisdom. No one was before he was, and no one has rule over him, because he is the source of all, and he is also the ruler of all. May God, who is hidden in nature, even as the silkworm is hidden in the web of silk he made, lead us to union with his own spirit, with Brahman. He is God, hidden in all beings, their inmost soul who is in all. He watches the works of creation, lives in all things, watches all things. He is pure consciousness, beyond the three conditions of nature, the one who rules the work of the silence of many, the one who transforms one seed into many. Only those who see God in their soul attain the joy eternal. He is the eternal among things that pass away, pure consciousness of conscious beings, the one who fulfills the prayers of many. By the vision of Sankhya and the harmony of Yoga, a man knows God, and when a man knows God, he is free from all fetters. There the sun shines not, nor the moon, nor the stars. Lightnings shine not there, and much less earthly fire. From his light all these give light, and his radiance illumines all creation. He is the wandering swan everlasting, the soul of all in the universe, the spirit of fire in the ocean of life. To know him is to overcome death, and he is the only path to life eternal. The created creator of all, he knows all. He is pure consciousness, the creator of time, all-powerful, all-knowing. He is the Lord of the soul and of nature, and of the three conditions of nature. From him comes the transmigration of life and liberation, bondage in time and freedom in eternity. He is the God of light, immortal in his glory, pure consciousness, omnipresent, the loving protector of all. He is the everlasting ruler of the world. Could there be any ruler but he? Longing, therefore, for liberation, I go for refuge to God, who by his grace reveals his own light, and who in the beginning created the God of creation, and gave to him the sacred Vedas. I go for refuge to God, who is one in the silence of eternity, pure radiance of beauty and perfection, in whom we find our peace. He is the bridge supreme which leads to immortality, and the spirit of fire which burns the dross of lower life. If ever for man it were possible to fold the tent of the sky, in that day he might be able to end his sorrow without the help of God. By the power of inner harmony, and by the grace of God, Svetasvatara had the wisdom of Brahman. He then spoke to his nearest hermit students about the supreme purification, about Brahman, whom the seers adore. This supreme mystery of the Vedanta, which was revealed in olden times, must only be given to one whose heart is pure, and who is a pupil or a son. If one has a supreme love for God, and also loves his master as God, then the light of this teaching shines in a great soul. It shines indeed in a great soul.